Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And what you're seeing on screen is actually a post over on X. This is my own post. I'll leave a link to it in the description. This is X, formerly known as Twitter. I'll leave a link to it so you guys could check it out. In case you haven't seen it, in case you want to check out the individual pictures, you can do so. So the reason I wanted to point this out, because this has to be by far Verizon and AT&T's biggest concern and biggest nightmare they will have ever faced from a networking competitive side of the business. They will have Verizon and AT&T since AT&T split and then Verizon came about. They will from the early 2000s, they will have never faced competition or a competitive network as what they're facing from T-Mobile. Now, hear me out on this. I'm not saying that T-Mobile is all of a sudden the best. I'm not saying that. I still stick to my opinion that Verizon will have the overall best network. But from a competitive perspective, this is what we need, right? Verizon and AT&T were never really super concerned about T-Mobile because T-Mobile has been only able to compete inside the metro core, which is about the top 100 markets. And T-Mobile competed there fairly well, but they never were able to gain scale. So Verizon and AT&T still had a stronghold on T-Mobile before the Sprint merger because T-Mobile could never reach like some serious scale. So just to share with you guys what I briefly, what I spotted. So T-Mobile, my work site that started construction in late May. I forgot to add that it was late May. They started construction. They started the baseband, ripping that out. They started ripping the panels at the top. This was a Sprint site, so this is a Sprint conversion. Actually, this is part of this is called Sprint Retain. So there's a difference. I'll have to put that in another video. So there's Sprint Keep sites and there's Sprint Retain sites. Two totally separate programs that T-Mobile never discussed. The Retain sites are very, very old Sprint sites that never got converted to LTE. T-Mobile, they turned them off right at the beginning of the merger. All those old Sprint 3G CDMA sites, they were turned off. But T-Mobile is going to retain some of those too. And this is one of those sites. Never got LTE, so no T-Mobile customer was able to get onto that site. That area, as you will see here in that little white space, that area was no service at all for over a decade. No service from T-Mobile whatsoever. So again, this is still from a competitive perspective, this is the stronghold that AT&T and Verizon still enjoyed. So over the years, this is a small military base, by the way. So over the years, there's been several soldiers that came throughout that base from all over the United States that had T-Mobile, and they left that base with a bad taste in their mouth. They're like, hey, T-Mobile sucks. You know, that was the perception, because every time they went to that base, it never worked. I'm talking about indoors, no calls inbound, outbound, no data throughput. I mean, just a nightmare with T-Mobile on that base. It was so bad at one point, I remember like 2017, 2018, they brought a kiosk on a table out there, and people were switching to Verizon and AT&T. They brought it to them out there. That's how bad it got with T-Mobile. But now, T-Mobile went from worst to first. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, T-Mobile was non-existent there for over a decade. You know, that's bad. I get it. I understand that's a negative. But still, now, you know, looking forward into the future, they have service there, which could potentially lower their churn. They went from worst to first. They now have 2.5 mid-band 5G in a very rural, small area, and it's doing over 300 megabits. Now, it's still rural, so it's microwave backhauled. It's not on fiber, right? I just want to point that out. It's not on fiber. It's microwave backhaul, but it's still doing over 300 megabits a second. So that's fine for the service members there. The base maybe at peak is about 3,000 people at peak. And that's soldiers and civilians. So, you know, they'll be able to support them no problem. The only thing I didn't check is the how many megahertz of N41 are on air. I'll have to check that next time I get out there. But This total time to close out the video, this took, just to share with you guys how long it takes to get some of these sites online. The total amount of time it took to get this old site operational was about 4 or 5 months. That includes ripping the baseband units, adding new baseband units, adding the N41, the N71, all 5G, right? Getting, and then that contractor leaving, getting another contractor out there to add a new microwave backhaul dish, to reposition it, because now the site is the site that they're the feeder site is a different site. So that all had to happen, and that took about 4 to 5 months. So there's likely a lot of sites out there that T-Mobile already upgraded that were a part of the Sprint Retain program that are just sitting there waiting to be turned on. This site got turned on a bit early, right? It was turned on, I would say, about a week ago or so, where it went live. It wasn't supposed to go live, I was told, until like the end of February. So they got that done ahead of schedule, but they have to leave a time frame because sometimes, as most of you know, stuff can go wrong, right? Dates are not met, stuff expires. So that, that some of those issues do happen. So that has to be taken into consideration when you look at the time frame. But still, this is good to see, right? Verizon there is LTE only. They haven't upgraded at all since like 2013. AT&T was able to upgrade through FirstNet, so they got low-band 5G out there. But right now, again, no mid-band for any carrier in terms of C-band. T-Mobile went from worst to first. This is a big deal. This type of scale is the real concern and the nightmare, in my opinion, for Verizon and AT&T. To now have to compete against a network for the first time ever that is slowly but surely starting to reach the same type of scale as the big two from a networking perspective. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today. I'm going to head to another smaller base that's in a different area, that's even a smaller, even more rural. And I want to see if they upgraded that Retain site there. Sprint had a site there too, old 3G CDMA, and I want to see if that site has been upgraded since then. So I'll head out that way. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I'll leave a link to this post in the description so you guys can check it out. If you're new, like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.